She was abandoned for being ugly and became a slave, but the forest god saved her. For the past 999 years, Gollum has been protecting this forest. But one day, he is patrolling the forest when he finds a destroyed cart. He looks around and sees non-human Icegade on the floor. He checks inside and finds some human kids also lifeless inside some cages. Suddenly, a cat appears and asks him to follow him. The cat leads him towards a small river flow, where he notices a little human girl inside a small cave. It's a small, weak, and defenseless girl wearing a slave collar. The Gollum stares at her, thinking human kids are rare in this world, but the child sees it different. To her, the Gollum looks like some sort of shining light, and in that moment, she gives him the cutest and most innocent smile ever while calling him daddy. Gollum is initially confused and told her to leave this forest, but the girl still ignored his request and decided to follow him. So, he climbed a slope that seemed impossible for her to climb. She tried to follow him, but she would always fail to climb up. The Gollum took this chance to leave and sit next to a tree, but for some reason he feels conflicted. He spends some hours thinking about how his duty is to protect the forest, and he shouldn't care for the girl or any outsider. He knows that as a Gollum, he will only live this last year. But at the same time, he's worried this little girl might starve to death, be eaten by a predator, or be captured again. Gollum knows that she was only captured because humans are extremely rare. He remembers that a few centuries ago, the world was divided into two sides, the human and the non-human. They all lived in peace until humans decided to reveal their stupidity.
Daddy, chill.
They decided to question, why did non-humans look so different? Why do they have different abilities? Why do they look like monsters? Since then, humans began to call them grotesque. For the first time ever, the non-humans learned what it felt to be discriminated. They never had problems among themselves or cared about the differences, they only knew about happiness and peace. But meeting humans was different. They were the weakest and most pathetic of all races, but also the only one who saw themselves as gods. Humans didn't just judge and hated the grotesque, they became violent. They attacked them, killed them. In the end, the non-humans had to fight back. The Great War. This war wasn't just to end all hatred, it was to end all humanity. In the end, human survivors were forced to run and hide. Otherwise, they would be hunted, enslaved, killed, or even eaten alive by the grotesque.
Why are you running?
He knew she was one of the few only human survivors, but his duty is to protect the forest. Suddenly, she appeared from the bushes and gave him a pure and innocent smile again, saying that she finally found him. He thought he should delete her, but he realized she was hungry and that she could leave if he fed her. So, he decided to give her some fruits and water, and the girl simply smiled. He tried to find answers about her. Who is she? What is her name? Where are her parents? Where was she heading? She didn't know any of it. She only knew he was her dad. She continued to follow him for the next couple days, and Gollum enjoyed her presence. He took her to a lake and opened his eye to gain the power to remove her slave collar and chains. He then decided to catch fish for her, but the outer skin on his right arm fell off. The girl was so scared and worried that she jumped into the water to save his skin. She didn't know how to swim and was drowning, but she was desperate. She was seeing her dad breaking apart. Gollum saved her, but he didn't understand why she felt such emotions. Golems simply lack emotions. They only have a sense of duty with the forest. Later, he realizes that his skin fell off because his time was coming to an end. He knows he should be protecting the forest, but things changed. He got used to the girl's pure and innocent smile, but he knows it's impossible for her to survive alone in the forest. So, he decides to look for humans and return her to them. But before leaving, Gollum decides to give her a name. The girl notices the cat that found her, and Gollum decides to name her after it. Her name is now Somali. The two then left the forest and started their journey to find the remaining humans. Gollum doesn't want anyone to find Somali's identity as a human, so he made her a hooded cloak with some horns. Somali enjoys the journey, but she's too active for Gollum to keep an eye on. She sometimes gets out of his sight, and he has to look around for her. Despite being a kid, she's just an idiot sandwich.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
They come near a city where she gets away from Gollum to play with different animals and insects. But he finds her, and they go to the city filled with the grotesques. They find a cafe so Somali can eat something. He refuses to eat because as a Gollum, he only needs oxygen, water, and sunlight. The food there looks gross, but Gollum forces Somali to eat because he wants to ensure that she eats in order to survive. The grotesques there make conversation with Gollum and ask about Somali's race. Gollum, he tells them that she's from the Minotaur race. Since she's wearing a hooded cloak with little horns on it, they believe him.
Bruh.
They learn that the two are on a journey to find humans. They recall how they got rid of humans and how delicious they are, but Somali is focused on her food and she doesn't hear them. After, Gollum gets up so he and Somali can leave and prepare to spend the night in the open. But one of the grotesques suggests they get an inn because the open is not safe. Gollum tries to refuse, but Somali gets too excited by the idea and begs they get an inn. Gollum ends up booking a room and Somali has a ton of fun playing inside. She wonders if Gollum is having fun too, but he simply explains he can't feel emotions. In the meantime, Somali ends up ripping one of the horns on her hood. Gollum has to fix it, and she cheers him on with a song. Right then, Gollum hears footsteps coming and covers Somali's mouth. He listens carefully, and the footsteps get even louder before they start to fade. It's a grotesque who is going to another room. Gollum hears the room's door closing, so he releases Somali and eases up. Somali starts to tease him for being scared, and he tries to explain that he can't get scared since he doesn't have emotions. But Somali can't be fooled. She felt him tense up, which he dismisses.
Got him!
Somali goes to sleep, but Gollum stays awake. For the past few days, he's been noticing more and more changes to his body, and now his left arm has started to crack. He knows he doesn't have much time to live, but he can't show Somali any worry. The next day, he and Somali leave to replenish their supplies. As they walk, Somali can't stop marveling at everything she sees. She also sees some grotesque kids playing together and looks at them curiously. She also watches a puppet and a juggling show along with families gathered around. She notices that some of the kids are being handheld by their parents. She wishes she could do the same with her dad, but she is afraid to ask. They leave that area to sell some gemstones to a merchant. Gollum begins negotiating, but Somali is bored. She's just sitting down waiting without anything else to do. She sees a cat passing by and decides to follow it while Gollum is not looking.
Stupid!
Gollum finally manages to get his deal and decides to leave, but realizes that Somali is missing. She is following the cat all over the town and finally goes through a dingy alley. Gollum has to get on top of the highest building and use his secret eye and the help of some birds to find her location. Meanwhile, she enters a creepy and quiet area and gets surrounded by some vultures, which starts to scare her. She wants to scream for Gollum, but suddenly hears a laughter which terrifies her even more. The laughter belongs to the cat, which suddenly appears behind her. It turns out that it's also a grotesque. This cat is some sort of a trickster who wants to ask about her following him and being lost. But Somali couldn't care less and just pets him against his will. However, the cat ends up smelling how delicious she is. The cat puts on a creepy look as if he's about to attack her. Somali gets scared, but Gollum arrives immediately and picks her up. He opens his eye and scares the cat into running away. Somali is so happy to see Gollum, but he finds it hard to express any kind of emotion. They soon leave the city and Gollum talks to Somali about the cat incident. He tries to explain to her that she needs to be more careful because others could find out about her being human. He managed to find her in time, but things could be different next time. She wants to know how he managed to find her, but he simply explains that he knows how she will act. He doesn't understand or show emotions, but he can analyze and understand patterns. In his case, Somali is just a kid that will just run off without thinking if something sparks their curiosity. So, he came with a solution and wants her to hold his hand. He saw that other grotesques were doing it in the town too, so he thinks this could work. Somali is shocked because this was what she wanted to do, but at the same time, she doesn't know how to express her happiness. She holds onto his finger and feels a real sense of family and comfort. Yet, she quickly notices a butterfly and tries to chase it, which forces the Golem to pull her back, which proves his point. Somali is happy that she gets to hold her dad's hand and they continue their journey. Days later, Gollum is getting worried because his cracks are getting worse. Though he may not feel it, he's worried he's running out of time. In the morning, he decides to teach Somali how to survive and shows her how to start a fire with rocks. He suggests they go find some herbs to add to the meal to improve her survival skills, and Somali leads the way. As they walk away, a grotesque is watching them from behind the bushes. After coming back, they sit and Somali enjoys her food. Right then, two horned rabbits appear and Somali plays with them. One of the rabbits eats her food and she chases it around. Gollum warns her not to run around because the ground is uneven, and she immediately falls and injures her fucking knee.
Stupid!
Gollum tries to dress her wound, but guess what? Their medicine is all gone. Somali is in a lot of pain and cries, leaving Gollum, not knowing what to do. Suddenly, the grotesque from behind the bushes appears acting as if he's a medicine seller passing by the area. It's a dwarf Oni named Shizuno, and he helps Somali because he's a healer. But he still wants to examine the wound properly and invites them to his house, especially since he's also into examining a Golem's body. The Golem accepts the deal and heads to Shizuno's house, where he bandages Somali's wound. In the meantime, his assistant Yabashira makes them cake and cookies. While they eat, Gollum asks Shizuno to teach him to make medicines for when he runs into emergencies. Shizuno agrees, but asks for a piece of his skin in return. He wants to study it as part of his medicinal research. Somali is shocked to hear this request, and Shizuno quickly claims that he's joking. But Gollum removes a piece of his skin and offers it to him. Somali becomes worried that Gollum might be in pain, but he doesn't want her to worry. After all, Golems can't feel pain. While Shizuno teaches Gollum how to make medicine, Somali helps Yabashira tidy up the house and do laundry. Once they are done with hanging up some sheets, Somali asks for more work. Yabashira wants her to rest and play for a bit, but she refuses because she wants to be useful too. Gollum does a lot for her, and she thinks he endures a lot of pain because of her, so she wants to work hard like him too. Yabashira gives her more work, and she has a lot of fun doing it. Gollum, on the other side, learns the medicine, and Shizuno asks him why he wants to learn anyway. He says it'll be more efficient, but Shizuno knows there's more to it. He points out that Gollum has layers of clothes on him than normal and is wearing boots. So, he guesses that Gollum is trying to delay his skin from cracking faster, and that makes him feel bad because he asked for a piece of it earlier. But in that moment, Gollum reveals that Shizuno is making the same expression as Somali once did when she hurt her knee. He reveals that he doesn't know what it is or what it means, but it makes him feel weird. He points to his chest and says that part becomes tight and agitated. Because of that, he doesn't want to see that expression on Somali's face again. That's why he wants to make medicine so Somali doesn't feel pain anymore. Shizuno giggles and tells him that he suffered a little heartbreak. Gollum gets annoyed because he knows that's impossible. His race doesn't have emotions or hearts. It's impossible to feel such thing as a heartbreak.
Okay.
The pair stay with Shizuno until late, and Somali ends up falling asleep. Later, Shizuno learns that Gollum is looking for Somali's parents so he can return her to them, but he doesn't know where they are. Yabashira thinks he should wait until Somali is a little older, but Gollum shows them that his body is breaking down. He has only a bit over 1 year to live and must return Somali to her parents before his time ends. Somali doesn't know any of this, and Gollum finds it to tell her because she is happy with him by her side. The next day, the pair leave with a supply of medicine and sweets for Somali. After traveling for some time, Gollum and Somali try to find humans in a city called Anthole, which looks like an ant colony. He doesn't want Somali to run away, so he reveals that he will never be able to find her if she ever leaves his side. Somali is so scared that she immediately clings to Gollum so she doesn't get lost. They wander around for a while until they stop at a merchant to sell some herbs. Somali looks around and sees that the city goes deep into the ground. She wants to explore, but a wolf-like grotesque appears and scolds her to get away. She gets scared and runs back to Gollum. Gollum, on the other hand, doesn't make enough money from this sell. In fact, he just has money for one meal, and guess what? She's fucking hungry. Like, right now.
What? What the fuck?
So they must walk around until they find a fucking place for Somali to eat. They find a restaurant where the owner, Kakalilla, and his son Kikilla are in desperate need of help. They're understaffed, and Kikilla doesn't want to help because he wants to be an influencer. Gollum realizes this is his chance and instantly drops his CV, which isn't really needed because they will hire anyone. Yes, anyone, even someone useless like you.
Emotional, damn it!
While he works, Somali plays and draws with Kikilla. Gollum watches them play, seeing how they have made a bond already. Later, the place gets packed. Gollum brings some customers their food and scares them by opening his eye to read out the nutritional makeup of the food. Bro became Uncle Arnold.
Stop it. Get some help.
Somali sadly agrees, but Kikilla doesn't understand why Gollum is being like this. As the day passes, Somali is no longer having fun and feels bad. But it gets worse. By nighttime, she starts to feel like she's a burden. Gollum is only counting his money, which is never enough, and never pays any attention to her. It's as if he only cared about returning her back to humans and never see her again. And the next day, he focuses in work again. Kakalilla asks Kikilla and Somali to go and pick up a package for him, but Gollum refuses to let Somali leave his sight. Kikilla argues that he will protect her because he's annoyed by Gollum for being too strict. Gollum thinks about it for some time and ends up agreeing. But he wants Somali to return before nighttime. Somali is slightly happy with this, and she and Kikilla leave the diner. Kakalilla asks if he did something wrong by asking Somali to go outside, and Gollum says no. It's only that their entire journey has just been him and Somali, so he wants to protect her. Now, however, she has made her very first friend, and he doesn't want to take that away from her. Somali and Kikilla get the package and get some snacks too. While they eat, Somali suddenly starts crying. She's worried that Gollum wants to leave her, which is why he seems to be in a rush to end their journey by making more money. She doesn't want that though. She wants to stay with him forever even after the journey ends. Kikila gets the idea to find a mystical Yazame flower which, according to the legends, it can grant wishes. That flower grows beneath the city, and if you can bring it up alive, it can grant you a wish. Somali becomes happy and cuddles him in excitement. Nearby, the wolf Grotesque from the other day is listening to them. The main problem is that kids aren't supposed to go underground without any adult supervision. They ignore those details and still go.
Ah, here we go again.
The place under there is different from the one on the surface, and mushroom spores are glowing to light up the place. They are the same lights Somali saw the other day. There are so many marvelous creatures that live there, and some of them are huge and fucking scary. The two kids get to a river, and Kikila asks Somali what her and Gollum's relationship is because they look different from each other. Somali says that Gollum is her dad because he acts like one to her. He helps her sleep at night and holds her hand so she doesn't get lost. That means he's her dad, nothing else matters. Kikila accepts this answer even though he doesn't seem to believe it. Right then, they see a swarm of starry butterflies which feed on the pollen of the Yazame flowers. They have to follow them in order to find the flowers. Somali immediately gets up and runs after them, and Kikila follows her. They run until they finally find the flowers, and Somali looks for the biggest one to take. She finds it and quickly tries to uproot it while wishing it to let her stay with Gollum forever. Once she has uprooted it, a monstrous mushroom near her suddenly opens, its many eyes, intimidating her. She freezes in fear and confusion, but the mushroom suddenly gets shot in the eye with an arrow. It uproots quickly and escapes from there. It was shot by the wolf Grotesque who has been following the kids.
Okay.
Somali gets scared of him and remembers Gollum, who is also worried seeing that she isn't back yet, though the sun is already setting. He even messes up his work a little because of this. Kokolila's wife tells him to have faith in the kids, believing they'll come back soon. Back in the underground, Kikila hugs the wolf Grotesque while calling him Master Muthrika. Somali is scared of him and hides behind a rock. However, Kikila tells her that Muthrika is cool. He's part of an organization that oversees the underground area. They escort anyone who wants to enter and keep children out. The flower that Somali has picked starts to die, and she becomes sad that she won't make her wish. This is because the flowers feed off the Tsukiyami tree's sap to survive. The ones which feed off the smaller trees die faster. Kikila suggests they find a big Tsukiyami tree which will have flowers that will last longer, but Muthrika doesn't allow them. The road that leads to that tree is too dangerous. He tells them to go up to the surface instead, but Somali refuses. She wants to find a flower no matter what. It doesn't matter if she gets left behind, she'll try to find her way back. Muthrika realizes her desperation and decides to show her the way even though it'll be too dangerous. They start walking, and the road proves to be very long. It goes up and down with narrow bridges, steep hills, and crawling spaces. They pass by a river which Kikila gets scared to jump, and they end up reaching their destination, which is located some meters deeper underground. Somali and Kikila jump down first and see the Tsukiyami tree. The flowers there are brighter and prettier than the ones above. Somali picks one up, and right then, a huge lizard creature appears. It lands between Somali, Kikila, and Muthrika, who has also jumped down. Muthrika wants to shoot it, but he's scared that it'll endanger the kids. Kikila just up to intimidate it, and Somali gets up to explain the situation. The lizard's babies appear on its herd and communicate with their parents. This leads to the lizard leaving without doing anything, seemingly understanding the problem. Muthrika runs to check up on the kids, and Somali asks why the lizard came out. He explains that the lizards are the guardians of the flowers, and since it let her go, her wish might be granted, making her happy. Later, he takes them back to the diner, and Somali immediately shows the flower to Gollum. However, Gollum isn't impressed because she broke the rule to return before nightfall. He wants to know why, and she becomes anxious, trying to explain. But before she can, Gollum tells her that if she continues doing this, he won't be able to travel with her anymore. Somali becomes upset and runs upstairs after dropping the flower to the floor. Kikila tries to check up on her, but she doesn't want to speak to anyone. Kokolilah tries to tell Gollum to hear Somali out because she might have a good reason, but Gollum refuses because she failed to follow his orders. Muthrika tells him that Somali was trying to get a wish granted by looking for the flower because she wants to stay with Gollum forever. This is a superstition though, so Gollum doesn't believe in it. However, Muthrika tells him that Somali did, which is why she was desperate to achieve it. Gollum as her parent shouldn't instill fear in her for that. He puts the flower next to Gollum and leaves. Gollum looks at Flower, which is slowly starting to die. Meanwhile, Kikila is still outside Somali's room's door. He decides to let himself in and finds her collapsed on the floor due to a high fever. He calls the adults and they quickly check on her. Unfortunately, Kokolilah doesn't have medicine for other races other than his own, so he only offers food to help ease the fever. Somali gets up to eat but doesn't feel hungry. Gollum forces her to eat and she spits out the food because she feels too sick. She cries, which makes Gollum get up and runs to find medicine. It's late at night, but he doesn't care. He just wants to find something. While he's running, he thinks about all the things that might have contributed to Somali's poor health. He never considered that she might get sick because of all this. He finds an apothecary where he buys an expensive multiracial medicine to avoid revealing that he's with a human. He returns and feeds the medicine to Somali. She falls asleep and Cockalilla comes to check on her later. Gollum tells him that she's better and blames himself for being too focused on the speed of their journey that he didn't notice the changes in Somali. He apologizes for causing trouble to Cockalilla, but Cockalilla doesn't blame him because there's no such thing as a perfect parent. Cockalilla also makes mistakes and let his anger get the best of him. However, he always picks up Kikilla in his arms and apologizes so that they can both grow. That's how the parent-child relationship works. Somali wakes up and holds Gollum's hand. Gollum tells her that if she ever feels like something is bothering her or feels tired, she must tell him. Somali agrees. The next day, she wakes up with her fever gone. Gollum tells her that he has decided to work at the diner for a little longer. They need more money since they had to spend what they had on medicine. Somali feels bad and blames herself, but Gollum tells her that money can always be replaced. She, however, is irreplaceable. He doesn't care about using money to buy medicine because she is the most important to him. Somali becomes emotional and hugs Gollum. She apologizes for not coming back on time the previous night and for worrying him at times. Gollum also apologizes, scaring her. She then asks if he'll stay with her forever even after their journey ends. Gollum promises her that he will. The flower seems to have worked somehow. Later, before Gollum opens the diner, he goes to meet with Muthrika near a dark alley. Muthrika reveals that he knows that Gollum is at the end of his lifespan because he has seen a Gollum like him before. Gollum doesn't deny this, and Muthrika tells him that he hopes he doesn't betray Somali, who has wished to be with him forever. But there's nothing Gollum can do about that. He will have to betray Somali at the end of his life. The time for Somali and Gollum to leave comes, and they say goodbye to their hosts. Kikilla is sad to see them leave, but Somali promises to visit him one day since she'll always be with Gollum. Muthrika is standing nearby, which reminds Gollum of their previous conversation. After, Somali and Gollum depart in a wagon. They make it to the Asuna Desert and stop at a waypoint village located in a dead volcano crater, where Somali quenches her thirst. They go to a restaurant where a man casually gives Gollum a shot of wine and leaves. A worker there explains that it's a tradition that started before the village was established. It was started by a group of travelers who shared wine when they took rest there. They then made it out of the desert safely, which encouraged more travelers to share drinks in prayer to cross the desert safely. That's because the desert is so big and has a lot of sandstorms, which some are tornadoes. Every traveler wishes to make it out alive, which can be unlikely. The shot is of a wine made from corn, and they also make ice cream from the corn. Gollum can have the shot while Somali has the ice cream. Another customer orders the ice cream too, but it turns out there's only one serving left. Somali wants to have it because she thinks the customer, a bird girl grotesque named Yuzoi, is copying her. Yuzoi gets annoyed because she wants it too, and they quarrel with Somali over it. Yuzoi gets closer to Somali to pinch her cheeks and realizes that Somali smells like a human. But before she can say anything, her companion, Heitora, comes to apologize on her behalf for her behavior. They all end up sitting together and Heitora hears from Gollum about their journey. Somali shares the ice cream with Yuzoi, but Yuzoi has lost her appetite due to what she's discovered. She gives Somali her ice cream and Somali happily accepts. They then talk more about Heitora's health. He's on a journey to find a cure for his disease, and Yuzoi is supporting him because it wouldn't be safe for him to travel alone. Gollum tells them he and Somali are searching for humans because he studies them for research purposes. Yuzoi offers Somali and Gollum to cross the desert together because they have a wagon and lots of goods they need help with. Heitora is hesitant at first, but ends up agreeing to Yuzoi's idea. Later, they go their separate ways for the night. Yuzoi then reveals to Heitora that Somali smells like him, further revealing that Heitora is a human as well, disguised as a grotesque. She removes his mask to reveal his face with one of his eyes and an ear filled with feathers growing from inside. She wants to do something to Somali, which is why she offered her and Gollum a ride. She plans to ambush them once they are out in the desert. Heitora tries to protest, but he begins coughing up blood. Yuzoi reminds him that they are running out of time and must do this to save him. The next day, they all depart after Gollum helps with loading their supplies on the wagon. Somali is happy that the wagon is cool due to the breeze, unlike the last time when it was too hot. She's having a lot of fun and asking Yuzoi many questions about everything she sees. But Yuzoi finds her very annoying. Suddenly, they see oncoming tornadoes as the storm starts. They get hit by the sandstorm right away, but the wagon stays on its wheels, though it shakes a lot. Somali almost falls out, but Yuzoi grabs her by the hand, saying they need her alive. Somali smiles, thinking that Yuzoi likes her. Right then, they get confronted by a sand shark and Heitora gets a weapon from Yuzoi and shoots it. It falls into the sand and they manage to get away before it recovers and returns. Luckily, the sandstorm passes, but they get stuck in the sand and have to push the wagon to get it out. They then rest for a while and make some cactus meal. They later resume their journey and find a cave to spend the night. While Gollum and Heitora fix the tent, Somali goes with Yuzoi to get their light sources. There are little cages they use to trap torch flies in and use them as lights. Yuzoi asks Somali what she is to Gollum because he can't be her real father. Somali doesn't understand. All she knows is that Gollum is her dad. That's it. She asks Yuzoi where her dad is, and Yuzoi explains how her race doesn't have dads. They only have mothers, though her own mother was Italian and passed away when she was young, so she doesn't remember her. She only knows Heitora, who has been with her whole life. He's like her dad, and she loves him. Somali thinks they are alike since they both love their dads. Yuzoi feels weird about this and asks her to focus on catching the torch flies. She feels bad about what she's planning to do to Somali, but she has to do it in order to save Heitora. Gollum, in the meanwhile, asks Heitora if he's heard about the humans which were spotted in the desert. He says no and asks why Gollum is looking for them and if it has anything to do with Somali. Gollum replies that it's hard to explain. Somali and Yuzoi return, and Heitora tries to secretly tell Yuzoi about his changed mind on her plan. But she doesn't want him to worry about it. She invites Somali to fetch water from the stream and signals to Heitora that she'll be commencing with the plan. While on their way back, Yuzoi pounces on Somali, and Heitora confesses to Gollum that he knows Somali is human. He also reveals that he's human too and wants Gollum to help him stop Yuzoi from hurting Somali to save him. Somali starts to get scared of Yuzoi, and Yuzoi finally tells her that she's going to clap her and use her blood to save Heitora. Gollum and Heitora head in the direction of the spring while Heitora explains what happened. While searching for a cure, he and Yuzoi came across a fortune teller who told him that he needed new blood in order to cleanse his corrupted blood. Yuzoi believes that Somali's blood will do the trick. Meanwhile, Somali screams when she hears Yuzoi's plan, which hurts Yuzoi's ears because her hearing is very sharp. She runs away, but Yuzoi catches up to her since she can fly. She grabs her and Somali struggles to get away. She accidentally falls into the water below during this and struggles to swim. Yuzoi feels bad and quickly jumps into the water to save her. After, they sit and rest while Somali shivers in cold. Yuzoi covers her with her wing and regrets her actions. She then apologizes to Somali and explains why she wanted to clap her. She's desperate to save Heitora, but she doesn't know what to do because she doesn't know anyone who makes medicine for humans. Gollum and Heitora arrive and Somali rushes to the former. Gollum stares at Yuzoi, who looks remorseful. When Somali realizes that Gollum might have figured out Yuzoi's intentions, she gets in between them. She explains how Yuzoi saved her, trying to convince Gollum to let it go. Gollum understands and tells her to dry her hair before she catches a cold. Heitora comes to Yuzoi, who cries because she couldn't fulfill her plan, even though she desperately wants to help him and be with him forever. Later, Somali and Yuzoi go to sleep while Gollum and Heitora sit around the fire. Yuzoi apologizes to Somali again, and she forgives her because they are friends now. Gollum tells Heitora that he will not confront Yuzoi about what she did because he understands that anyone would do the same for their family. Heitora doesn't believe he deserves to be called family by Yuzoi because he ate her mother a long time ago. This happened when Heitora was still living in a human village where the Grotesques found and attacked them. He, his wife and daughter managed to hide in a cave for days while everyone got killed. After a while, he went out of the cave to find food and saw Yuzoi's mother. Out of fear and anger, he attacked and clapped her before bringing her to his family to eat and reject humanity. He believed this would turn them into Grotesques too, which would finally save them from torment. Unfortunately, this only made them extremely sick as feathers started to grow from their skin, eyes, ears, and mouths. The wife and daughter died and he survived. Then, after some time, Yuzoi came looking for her mother and met him. As Heitora is telling this to Gollum, Yuzoi is sitting by the entrance of the tent and listening to everything. She can't believe that the person she loves the most has been lying to her entire life. The next day, they resume their journey. They get hit by another sandstorm which is so strong, it knocks Yuzoi and Somali out of the wagon. Heitora tries to go after them, but Gollum stops him. He has already assessed the direction the wind has carried the kids and knows that they will land safely. After, the storm passes and the girls land safely. Gollum and Heitora arrive to the area and Heitora reveals that he believes Yuzoi might have heard their conversation the previous night. He knows that their relationship will not be the same again. Gollum encourages him to take responsibility for his sins and face Yuzoi, even if it hurts. Right then, he detects something and assesses the area to see Somali and Yuzoi being chased by a giant insect. He and Heitora get closer to devise a plan. Gollum will distract the insect while Heitora saves the girls. But Heitora decides to change the plan and be the decoy instead. He grabs the insect's attention, leading it away from the girls. He thinks it's best the insect goes after him because he doesn't have much time to live anyways. He then falls from exhaustion, and the insect gets closer and ready to take him out. Luckily, Yuzoi arrives and defends him. Gollum shoots at the insect, finally making it fly away. After, Yuzoi becomes angry with Heitora for trying to escape responsibility by getting himself clapped. She demands to know why he stayed with her even at the risk of her finding out the truth and getting revenge. Heitora tells her that he didn't care about that. He would give his life for her because she's his only purpose in life. Yuzoi then asks him to not get himself clapped if he loves her so much. She wants him to stay alive and live with her as his punishment. Heitora agrees and they reconcile. They all resume their journey. Gollum starts to worry since it's been a while since they left the last town without seeing one human apart from Heitora. He did come this way due to a rumor, but it appears that it wasn't true. At night, Somali asks Yuzoi why the humans suddenly disappeared. Yuzoi wants to tell her the truth, so she suggests they go to sleep instead. Gollum is sitting outside and remembers the promise he made to Somali to stay with her forever. But this isn't going to happen since the cracks on his skin have been growing bigger and bigger. He only has 301 days left. He later learns from Heitora that there's a village at the west end of the desert where he might find information on humans. He then decides that he and Somali will go there. He then recounts what he's learned about humans from traveling with Somali. Heitora calls Somali lucky because she gets the protection of a golem, even though she's a human. Although Gollum is not sure he can fully protect her, Heitora's words make his heart lighter and give him some peace of mind. The next day, they all manage to get out of the desert and make it near a forest. There's a river there which will lead Somali and Gollum to the village they need to go. The pairs part ways, promising to meet again in the future. Gollum and Somali reach the village after walking for some time and stopping to eat at one point. The village is a witch village where witches rule and accept travelers from all over to exchange information. They also own the biggest library in the world filled with books on different topics like food and medicine. This is where Gollum and Somali need to be to find all the information on humans. Immediately when they arrive, some of the witches there tempt and sell Somali a lot of food items, and she buys everything. After she's full, one witch helps her and Gollum go to the library to do their research. They get introduced to a librarian, Hazel, who will help them. Gollum tells her the purpose of their journey, and she helps them find a biography on humans in their records. Somali becomes hopeful and eager to read the book, so they look for it. Unfortunately, it's not at the library, it's with Hazel's sister, Praline, who doesn't remember where she put it. Somali helps to look for it and, luckily, finds it in the bookshelf. However, there are some book-eating fish attached to it when she pulls it out. The fish quickly multiply and Hazel deals with them with her magic, which impresses Somali. But the problem isn't over. The remnants of the fish collect together and a huge fish manifests in front of them. It starts attacking them and knocks Gollum to the ground. It's after the biography, but Somali refuses to let it go because it's important to her. She tries to run with it, but trips and falls. The book falls out of her hands and the fish eats it. It then tries to attack her too, but Gollum intercepts and blocks it with his arm, which causes the skin to shatter completely. He opens his secret eye, which changes color from green to orange. This initiates attack mode, which releases his wing-like limbs with spiky ends and takes down the fish with it. The fish explodes and disappears. The witches are left stunned, and Somali is left sad that her dad is hurt. She cries and blames herself for this. The book is ruined, which makes her cry even more, and Gollum tries to console her. Praline suggests they look through the records of borrowers to find the last person who might have read the book. Hazel checks and find out it was last borrowed 304 years ago by Isolde, their head librarian. She's still alive, but in poor health. Somali is disappointed, which makes Praline curious as to why the information is so important to them. They don't say. Somali just begs her to help them until she gives them her special book that she wrote. It's a map of the library that even details secret ways to access the underground areas where Isolde lives. Gollum and Somali use it to sneak into the library, but they quickly get caught by an insect surveillance system. This triggers the alarms to alert the witches of their intrusion. The guardians of the library immediately go hunting as the two try to run away from the insects. They come to a place where there's nothing but water underneath, and they jump in to save themselves. Under there, they see a light in one of the openings on the wall. They hear a voice calling out to them, and they swim towards it. They swim until they reach an area with less water, so they step out. This is in front of Isolde's room, the place they were looking for. The Guardians intercept them, but before they can punish the father-daughter duo, the voice speaks again. It tells the Guardians to let them come into the room. They go in there to meet Isolde and ask to know about the biography. Isolde reveals that she's actually the one who wrote the book which led to the deaths of the humans. The book is about the story of one of her ancestors, Fedora. She was the first witch to make contact with humans. She was traveling back to her village when she was caught in a storm that blew her to a human village. The humans there worshipped a golem named Horaso, who gave them the land to live in. Fedora didn't know what kind of race the humans were, and when she asked, the humans became confused. They weren't aware that there were many other races besides them, and started to suspiciously question Fedora. Horaso calmed them down and told them that Fedora was human too. That's when Fedora learned that humans have a fear of the unknown because they are frail and cowardly. They will clap anything or anyone they don't understand in order to have peace of mind. Fedora became scared, but Horaso promised to protect her until she could make it back home. She stayed there for some time and got along with everyone. When her time to leave came, Fedora was happy, but also sad because she was getting along with everyone. She even made a new friend, Mia, who loved her like a sister. Before she left, though, she witnessed the wrath and fear of the humans. They had captured a grotesque and were torturing it because they were scared of it. They beat it up and threw stones at it while calling it names. Mia did the same thing too, which terrified Fedora. So, she decided to run away, scared that if she's found out, she'll be attacked too. She waited by a tree near the sea for a tornado to come and take her home. The villagers worried about her disappearance and started looking for her. Mia found her first, and Fedora asked what she would do if she found out she was a grotesque. Mia didn't believe in being friends with monsters, which left Fedora disappointed. A huge gust of wind hit them and Mia accidentally fell off the cliff, landing on some roots on the side of it. Fedora cried for her, which alerted the villagers, and they came running to her. No one knew what to do and Fedora wanted to help, but she was scared that the truth would come out. However, when the roots broke and Mia plummeted, she decided to help, using her broom to fly and save her. After that, the humans started calling her names and threatened to clap her if she didn't leave. Horaso came and pretended to pardon her because she saved Mia so she could leave safely. Mia cried for her and screamed that Fedora is her friend no matter what. This made Fedora happy and have hope that maybe humans would eventually accept other races one day. She returned to her village and became head librarian. She then told her story to her successor, but forbade anyone to write it down for 1,000 years. She still believed that humans and grotesques would eventually get along. However, Isolde came along and decided to write the story down, which led to the war that almost wiped out humanity. Somali doesn't know what to make of this. She's afraid and asks if the people in the story were human like her. Isolde confirms, making her feel terrible because she's just like them. Isolde calls her closer and asks her if she's afraid of her and the other grotesques. Somali says no because she has a lot of friends who are also grotesque. Isolde then tells her that there's nothing to worry about, there's only hope to reach an understanding. If bonds can be made between two loving hearts, there will be peace. She then tells them to go to the ends of the world to find the last remaining humans who live there. Finally, she turns into a swarm of butterflies as she wishes them the protection of the world. Once again, Somali and Gollum resume their journey. It starts raining, and they find a treehouse to take shelter in. The treehouse belongs to tappers who harvest a certain sweet sap from the trees in the area. At the moment, though, the treehouse is empty, so Somali and Gollum help themselves. They make cake from the ingredients and recipes they find there, and Gollum leaves some money on a stand to pay for their experience. Somali is so happy with everything that she tells Gollum that she's glad he's her dad. She wouldn't have it any other way. After, she eats the cake and cries in joy, which Gollum thinks it's an exaggerated response to food. He doesn't understand tears of joy. As Somali eats, she realizes that one of her teeth is loose. But before she can show it to Gollum, Yabashira and Shizuno arrive to ask for shelter from the rain. They all catch up since it's been long since they last saw each other. Somali offers to share her cake with them, but then remembers that her tooth is loose and runs to bed, leaving her guests confused. She's really worried about the tooth that she even refuses to eat candy the next day. The group of four then head to a city called Bygone together. The city looks run down, is full of criminals and criminal activity. Shizuno wanted to go there to find a famous dentist to learn from him. When Somali finds out that a dentist is a tooth doctor and that damaged teeth have to be pulled out, she becomes terrified. They find the dentist Soak, who's a rat-like grotesque. His race is perfect for the profession because they are small and can go into the mouths of patients to fix the teeth. This terrifies Somali even more. Her fear worsens when Soak explains exactly how he deals with cavities and how he pulls out the teeth if they are badly damaged. After Shizuno is done taking notes, they leave, with Somali still traumatized. Gollum has noticed and asks her what's wrong. She doesn't want to say and runs away. She bumps into a criminal-looking grotesque and his friends. Gollum and the others arrive to check on her. The criminal immediately demands money from them for Somali bumping into him, calling it an insult. Gollum doesn't have the amount they want, and the criminals demand he gives up whatever he has because power is what matters there. Yabashira then decides to show them his power by beating up the criminal. Gollum takes on one of the friends, and the other friend tries to attack Shizuno and Somali, seeing that they are small. Unfortunately for him, Shizuno can also fight. Somali tries to get away from the scene, but she falls and her tooth comes out. After the criminals have left, Gollum checks on her and she shows him the tooth. She's scared it'll never grow back and doesn't know what to do. Gollum also doesn't know what's going on, so they go back to Soak. Soak tells them that it's just a baby tooth and another one will grow out again. He gives them a tiny container to store it with Somali's future baby teeth, and they leave. While walking on the street, they meet an innkeeper. He saw them beating up the criminals earlier and wants to hire them as his bodyguards. That's because it'll snow soon and the town will be getting more travelers seeking shelter. This will make it hard for everyone because the criminals will increase their activity. In return, the innkeeper will let them stay at his lodge at the edge town for free. They agree and head to the lodge to rest. While Somali and Yabashira are sleeping, Shizuno reveals to Gollum that he knows that Somali is human. He knew from the moment they met because she smelled different. He asks why Gollum is pretending to be her father. Gollum replies that he didn't decide this himself. It just happened when he first met her and took on the duty to protect her. He recounts the moment he first met Somali and how they ended up on this journey. Shizuno asks to see his body and find out how much time he's left now. Gollum takes off his clothes and reveal that most of his body no longer has skin. The remaining part is his head, neck, hands, and thighs. The inner skin is also starting to crack and fluid is seeping out. His joints have also started creaking, all of which is decreasing his functionality. He asks Shizuno to look after Somali when his body has completely broken down. He fears his life might end before he completes his journey. Shizuno agrees, but he knows that's not really what Gollum wants. He wanted to return Somali to the humans at the beginning, but after traveling with her, he now wants to see her smile more. Shizuno encourages him not to give up yet, if that's what he really wants. The next day, Gollum and Yabashira start their bodyguarding job for 7 days, while Shizuno looks after Somali at the lodge. Gollum tells Shizuno how Somali behaves and what kind of food she doesn't like, which surprises Shizuno and Yabashira on how protective he is. For a Gollum who claims to have no feelings, he sure cares a lot about his daughter. He and Yabashira leave and Somali wakes up to see the thick snow. She wants to make a thank you present for Gollum, but can't come up with any good ideas. Later at night, Gollum and Yabashira return, and they all eat dinner together. Somali hasn't made a good present for him, so she thinks about it the next day. Shizuno gets an idea to knit something when they find wool in the lodge. Before they do that, the innkeeper's wife, Rosa, arrives to give them some supplies. She sees the wool and finds out that Somali is trying to knit a present for Gollum, but doesn't know what to knit. She suggests a fita band, which acts as a good luck bracelet. She even teaches Somali how to make it. They have so much fun, and Rosa ends up hugging Somali in excitement. Right at that moment, she smells the human scent on her, but gets distracted when Shizuno asks to be taught how to make a fita band too. At night, Gollum and Yabashira return to the lodge while Rosa goes home. She goes to reveal that Somali is a human to some grotesques who hunt humans. On the last day of Gollum and Yabashira's job, Rosa asks if they will be leaving using the Western Road. They confirm, and she tells them that it's not safe, but she knows another road which only villagers know about. She claims she's doing this to protect Somali. Somali, on the other side, finishes her present while Gollum and Yabashira knock off work. They get more supplies for their journey, which they will resume the next day. They return to the lodge and Somali gifts Gollum with the fita band. Gollum also gifts her a similar band too. They got each other the same gift, making Somali very happy. She thanks Gollum, and he also thanks her too. After, Shizuno decides that they play in the snow before they eat dinner, and they all have fun. They even make Gollum and Somali snowmen before returning inside. Later into the night, while everyone is asleep, Gollum detects something coming. It's a band of criminals who are heading to the lodge. He uses his eye to amplify their conversation and hears them talking about how they will be catching their first human in a long time. He wakes everyone up and tells them what's happening. This leads him to end up revealing that Somali is human to Yabashira. Yabashira didn't know this, but he chooses to protect Somali too because she liked his sweet before. So, he stays back while the others run away. When the bandits get there, they search the whole house for Somali, but don't find her. Yabashira then decides to beat up one of them before leaving. They think he's following Somali, so they follow him too. Meanwhile, Somali and the others find an old mine that runs through the mountains. This is the place that Rosa told Gollum and Yabashira about. They're supposed to meet Yabashira at the exit on the other side of the mountains. After walking for some time, they reach an area which is locked. Right then, Gollum detects other bandits who have come to hunt them in the mine. They run forward to get away, but end up at an area with a bridge that's broken. The bandits catch up to them, which scares Somali a lot. When Gollum sees this, he grabs Shizuno and jumps into the ground below, using his wings to slow them down before they land. This move seems to have used too much power, leaving Gollum's body creaking non-stop. But they still have a long way to go because the bandits will catch up soon. Yabashira, on the other hand, manages to take care of his set of bandits. However, he realizes that something bad might happen to his friends when his shoe strap breaks. He's a superstitious man, and that's a bad omen. The three in the mine reach an area that was said to be the exit and find Rosa there. She walks with them, claiming that she came there to bring them a new map after remembering that the bridge had collapsed. She then points them in a certain direction that is supposed to be the exit. However, they get trapped once they walk in that way. That's when they realize that Rosa is working the bandits. Gollum knows he can destroy the gate, but that will reduce his remaining time to live. If that happens, he won't be able to protect Somali, so he decides to preserve his time. While the bandits prepare their weapons, Rosa decides to tell the trio a story about a human clapping a grotesque who had saved a human child, just because he was different. It happened over and over again until the grotesques realized they were not safe and needed to clap the humans to survive. This scares and defeats Somali so much that she falls to her feet in disbelief. All the stories she hears about humans are just terrible. Rosa then starts singing the song Kikilla once sang about a grotesque and a visitor. The rest of the song details exactly what the humans did to the grotesques, which is not helping Somali's case. At the end, the bandits return with their weapons, ready to cut Somali up and share her among themselves. They open the gate and approach her. Shizuno tries to reason with them, but they hit him to the side. Gollum sees no other way but to fight. He tries to transform his hand, but half of his arm breaks down and falls off. He collapses to the floor, which upsets Somali. She cries for him while he lies there, not knowing what happened. He sees when she cries for him and gets taken away. She gets put on a table to be cut up, which drives him mad. His eye turns red and he painfully transforms again. A fireball-like thing appears on his open chest, which scares the bandits. He unleashes his power created from his internal heat and spirit. Other flames appear on his chest, surrounding the fireball. He shoots them at the bandits, which causes him to get thrown back to the floor. The flames miss the bandits, but they still get scared and run for their lives when Gollum gets up and starts roaring. He runs after them, leaving Somali and Shizuno behind. Shizuno tells Somali that they must go and stop Gollum, who seems to have lost his mind. He catches up to the bandits and beats them up. Somali and Shizuno arrive and try to call him to his senses. As he's about to attack Rosa, Yabashira arrives and saves her by blocking the attack. He doesn't want Gollum to continue his rampage because Somali will see him like this. However, Gollum is focused on eliminating his target. He gets Yabashira out of the way by throwing him at the wall and proceeds to try and attack Rosa. Somali quickly comes in between them, but Yabashira is scared Gollum will hurt her and tells her to get away. She doesn't believe Gollum will do that and stays there. Gollum raises his hand towards her and she hopes he pats her on the head, though she flinches when it gets closer. Gollum touches her head and his mind returns as he remembers her. His eye color changes back to green and he falls to the floor right then. After some time, he wakes up in the forest with bandages all over his body. Somali is sleeping by his side, and when she wakes up, she cries in relief to see her father awake. Shizuno and Yabashira arrive too and Gollum asks them what happened since his memory is fuzzy. He sees a bandage on Yabashira's head and realizes that he must have injured him. He apologizes to him and to Somali for scaring her. They all then start walking while Gollum analyzes his condition. He knows that his time has been reduced significantly, but he doesn't know how much time he has left. His functionality is also bad. They make camp near the river and Somali and Shizuno catch fish for dinner. Gollum loads stuff into a wagon and drops some, which prompts Yabashira to tell him to rest. He thinks it's fine because it's a little inconvenience. Once he recovers, he'll do better. But when they are eating, he has a hard time picking up a cup of water. Shizuno notices this but doesn't say anything. When Yabashira and Somali are sleeping, Shizuno goes to talk to him. He reveals that he's been feeling limited on his movements, hearing, and vision. He also doesn't know if he still has time because he's been struggling a lot ever since he left his forest. He knows that he will stop functioning soon, so he plans to leave Somali before that. Shizuno promises to support his decision, but asks him to reconsider. The next day, they continue their journey and come to a town of goat-like grotesques where a harvest festival is taking place. There are flowers there they use to guide their ancestors to them in order to thank them. Somali asks Gollum about this practice and Gollum dismisses it because it's just not possible for ghosts to exist. He doesn't believe people become ghosts when they die, they just return to the earth. Despite this, he buys Somali lots of treats because a festival is a special day despite its lore. As the day sets, there's a show put on by performers. Yabashira helps Somali watch it in his arms. Gollum sees how happy she is with him and Shizuno and decides to leave right then. When Somali notices that he's not there, she starts panicking and looking around. Shizuno tells her and Yabashira that Gollum won't be coming back. Somali can't believe her ears and her panicking increases. She starts running around, looking for him with a broken heart. She runs into the forest and looks all over until she finds him by the river. He stops her from coming closer because he can't continue traveling with her. He says that if he loses control again, he might hurt her. Somali doesn't believe that though, and she fears she'll be lonely without him. She asks if he won't be lonely without her, and he says that golems don't have emotions, so he can't feel loneliness. But she knows he's lying. That's because he has been upset over her going missing or worried over her getting sick and strict because he doesn't want her to be in danger. Plus, he stays with her when she falls asleep so she doesn't get lonely, and he holds her hand so she can always be with him. He's her dad, which is why he's been kind to her, so he absolutely does have emotions. Gollum finally accepts that maybe he does have them. He has a heart too and wishes he could stay with her as well. He hugs her and promises to stay with her forever as her father. Even if he dies and is reduced to nothing but a soul and becomes a ghost, he wants to be with her. He may not believe in ghosts, but he sure wants to be one when he dies so he can continue seeing her smile. After, they both return to Shizuno and Yabashira. The four of them are reunited and continue their journey as one family. Watch this next video. See you on the next one.